Welcome to the Tough Fish Show. I am so excited to welcome back my friend Daniella Rushton. Daniella, thank you so much for being back.
Hi, Jen. I'm so delighted to be here. Now, I hope you don't mind for those people that are watching this on YouTube. If you're listening in, I have a winged panther on the desk behind me here in my kitchen.
And
Poppy the panther.
Parky the Panther, I'm so glad you and Parky are joining us today.
It's our pleasure.
So, when you were on the show before, we talked about Parky's adventure, but in the sense of the Panther's Tales starting, and we really hovered around world building. So, what has happened since we chatted last?
Oh my goodness, Jen. The world building's growing out of control. It's in a great place. So we had the Panther Tales. We had book one. We watched Gifted Ones, and the sequel would launch The Queen and the Powerful Pendant in last September. And I'm consequently writing third book in the trilogy, the series. I'm about halfway through, not sure, can't tell you where I am, sort of whether I'm halfway through or three quarters, but it's really coming together. But the world building is something else because as you start to build a series, it's like a painting with lots of layers. And the more the series develops, the more these layers, you know, are created and put on. And it really is turning out quite a world.
But what I love about that is that you probably also have some pieces in place to help you keep all the layers straight, keep what was appropriately built in world one that needs book one rather that needs to continue in book three, that to know where all of the pieces are, all of the rules are, so that there's continuity throughout the series, but yet book three still has its own, flavor, its own story, if you will.
Absolutely. It's an absolutely essential part of world building is putting together what and developing and adding to what I call my Bible. Obviously, as different parts of the story come together, everything is noted down in that A4 file, and it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And obviously, the skill, like putting a jigsaw together, is making sure that everything ties in. And obviously, if this world is enriched, then that just gets quite challenging and it's really hard work. And I don't think I'll be doing another trilogy. Honestly, it's really challenging. It's been difficult. It really had making sure everything matches up. And as you say, also, then sort of each book and series having its own identity, yet obviously has this common thread passing through.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
understand that. But what I think is really cool for those who are watching in our YouTube video. So Daniela, when she mentioned that she's got Parky behind her on the desk, I really hope you do go and check out the video because Parky really has a beautiful presence to him. He is just he's gorgeous and he has lights. He has lights behind him. Daniela, how did you get him created like that? Because if authors are looking to create something beautiful at a book signing or at an expo or something that or in like podcasting and wanting to have something representative of their book, how did you get him created in such a way? Because he's stunning, truly.
It is absolutely so. The illustration is by an artist called Zoe Potter, a friend of mine. And very early on, because I'm a very visual person, because obviously it is Panther Tales, I needed to have sort of a pretty much a life-size image of him by me, not only when I was working, but as you say, going to book signings, bookstores that had him in. And so what I did was I took the illustration to a printer shop and asked them to blow it up. And obviously they've blown it up and then they've cut it out. But I'd thoroughly recommend it for any particularly fantasy author. I think that it really is beneficial because people connect on lots of different levels, but it's a bit like a book cover. People are drawn, I mean, let's face it, we all go into bookstores and we are drawn to the book covers, aren't we? it's human nature. We can't help that. So it's very important to me that I have that visual presence accompanying me, not only in my studio and I'm writing, but also when I do go to signings or bookstores, yeah, or authors Q&As, I've taken it. I've had come with, I have some children come along, they do selfies and talking the craft. So it's great.
I
Yeah,
I
it
love that.
well. It worked out really well.
I love that. I love the creativity, the inspiration to have said, "Let me take this and blow it up and turn it into something else that I can use," because it shows another way of being creative as a writer because you're running a business and you're looking at it a different way, but I love that you did that. That's just brilliant.
Oh,
Brilliant.
teacher. Yeah, well, she's great. She's a fantastic artist. And we worked really closely on making sure that Poppy, sort of came to life as obviously I created him. So, and she did it superbly, even down to the colour of his eyes, the way he looks. I actually took him into the home where my mum is at the moment. And I did a reading for all the residents there. And one of the ladies there, who is in her 90s, I, I, I took the board in front of her and I said, "Meet Parky." And she said, "My, what wonderful eyes."
He
So,
does.
so
Yeah.
you're feeding as a storyteller. With this board, I am obviously projecting my voice. I'm giving people a story, but I'm bringing the world to them. So there are many benefits. I'd say to writers, it's definitely worth the investment. And it was inexpensive. It was a good investment. I think it was 30, £40, which is like $60, which to me for 3 years, and the amount of times I've used it was every single penny
Oh,
sent.
absolutely. I mean, and
Yeah,
he's stunning.
huge,
Yeah,
thank you.
I love that so much. And the other thing you just touched on, which I think is beautiful, is that you really never know who might resonate with your piece or with, a, and in this case, the life-size figure that you've created, but you never really know who might resonate with that book cover or with your story because yes, you might have written it for an intended audience. You've written for middle grade, yet this older resident said he has beautiful eyes. Well, that person might actually be saying, "Hey, would you read to me his story?" I don't necessarily know that you know, I would read quite a bit to my grandparents, so I could easily see myself picking a book up that they said, "I like his eyes. Well, let me read you his story." And,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you don't know where your story who you will connect with and how your writing will empower them, and because of that, it's empowering you as well. Would you agree?
absolutely. I mean, that's the power of storytelling, isn't it? And that's the belief in storytelling is the fact that you can really throw your net out and you can really reach to a huge, huge audience in so many different ways. It's quite magical, really.
Yeah.
I want to set rules to this, are there, Jen?
I mean, I really think that, the limits are what you create for yourself. And sometimes you got to work through your own limits, not recognizing, oh, I didn't realize I had this one. Okay, because, you know, writing in a trilogy, that's challenging, but yet you're finding a way through that, even if it's a matter of saying, okay, today I might not be getting nearly as much writing done because I'm not sure how I wanna work this yet, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep playing with it. Or maybe you take a day off, but your day off is going to get inspiration at a museum or doing something else with your family. But that book is with you. It's noodling around and you will come back the next time and go, I got this inspiration when I was doing this. Let me jot down what that is, and your story starts to come through. But one thing, Daniela, that you alluded to and I was curious of what your thoughts are, is the challenge it is to write with trilogy, but really, is it a challenge in creativity or how challenges really have helped unleash your creativity? And
Yeah.
your creativity is just blossoming.
Yeah, I mean, since I started writing, I've had quite a few challenges in my life. And at the time when really taking on or finding my home in my creativity, I really wanted my life to be ultra stable. But little did I know that these challenges that came into my life unleashed a freedom of thought and a freedom of self expression. And through that, I began to find not only that I'd found my home in my creativity, in my writing, but I'd found a new anchor where I could really be myself.
I love that so much. Keep
Yeah,
going. Please share more. Like,
yeah,
how did you come through that, and how did it take shape to empower your writing and help others?
yeah. I mean, obviously, I mean, I think you know, Jen, that I have a certain faith. So as I encountered these challenges in my life, I dug deep to believe, and I learned more and more on my faith. And as I became trusting in my faith and realizing there's a time for everything, I realized that I was granted this grace of patience. And with that patience came the ability to let my mind really open and absorb everything around me and just begin to bloom, could you say? Um, yeah, it's strange. It's strange because at a time when really I sort of needed, as I going back to what I was saying, needed stability to be able to pursue this new area in my life. The way my writing evolved and the inspiration I got through the challenges it's been remarkable in putting the trilogy together. It really has.
I love that. I love that so much. So
Yeah.
when so if we have listeners who might be feeling challenged in some way or in their heads, like, hey, I don't really know that I have enough creativity to be able to build out this story so that it's going to be worth somebody else's reading, or will it be good enough? Am I being creative enough, or is this writing strong enough? If they start to kind of be in their heads, how might you encourage them?
Well, I think the biggest thing I could say is the wonderful thing about creativity is that you own it. This is your baby, and you can just do what you want with, you can nurture your baby at at your own pace and in your own time. So that was the sense I had more than absolutely anything with the self-expression, but the the empowerment I felt on owning this. So and being able to then share it and then people enjoy it and being able to give back. Um, I think I think that is really empowerment in itself. When you can own something, develop it and share it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what I also hear you doing, and demonstrating, really, and encouraging our listeners too, is to, even if you're faced with some kind of fear or some kind of challenge, trust in yourself, have faith in yourself and in your ability to create this story, that it was given to you for a reason, that you are the right person to tell this story. So if that means you need to dig a little deeper, and maybe you might need a little support to dig deeper, whether it's a supportive network or leaning into your faith, if that's something that resonates with you, that do those things that help you to start to recognize that the story was given to you to tell and to share, and you really are the right person, because they might be pulled in other ways, but not by you. Not by you, and not with your creativity and your experiences and your way of communicating.
Yeah, I think that going back to the faith angle again, when you said that, I mean, for some people, some of the writers might feel, oh my gosh, this isn't going anywhere. I'm going to give it up. Um, we've all been there. I've been there, and it's hard to share with your family and friends a new project that you're unsure of. And I think that that was the time when I when I turned to God, especially with these external challenges I was having as well. And I just said, okay, these are my words for you. And you've got my back and I'm doing this for you. And we're doing this together and we're going to push it out to the world. And that gave me a supreme confidence, Jen, because I felt I was not only at home my writing, but I felt as though I had this parental support. Whereas at the time when with the challenge I had had gone, I mentioned on social media to you a while back, and I put a post together that my son ran the London Marathon for my mum who's sadly suffering from dementia. And at a time in my life where I would have loved her support and nurture, that that was going, you know? So this was the time that God more or less said to me, you know, I've got you in this. I'm your father. You know, you can trust me and I'm with you. And it's that anchor that is that's kept me grounded and kept me going.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. And I love how you demonstrated that no matter what challenge you're going through, when you go back and trust yourself, trust what you believe, what you know to be true, because you knew that he had your back. You knew that this story was something you needed to share. So you went back to what you knew and said, okay, so if this fear or if this concern is coming up, I can work through this because I can trust what I know here. And what I'm curious is, how might you encourage someone who maybe they're going through that writing process and they're at that point where maybe it feels frustratingly dark in the sense of saying, okay, oh my gosh, can I really do this? I've done all this work. Maybe they've written the first pass and maybe the edits are driving them nuts and they're questioning, oh my gosh, this is more than I thought. Can I really do this? Is it really worth it? Will I get through this? What would you suggest to them to do so that they can get through this? Are there some recommendations
Yeah,
you have for them?
I would say, oh, because you own it, you can sit with it. And sitting with it, you've got to give yourself one thing that I always say with the Panther Tales, it's time to believe, it's time for this. That word tie is so important because when you own this piece of work that you've created, you can own the time that goes with it. And now, unless obviously you're under a time schedule with an agent or a publisher, luckily I'm not, then that's a different situation. But in my situation, and for other indie authors out there, then they have the freedom to be able to develop that situation in time in their own patience, if they can find the patience to do that. Um, Obviously, if I was under pressure from an agent or a publisher with time, I would have to have a conversation with them and say that, you know, we are obviously, I don't want to stifle my creativity because with creativity, you can't rush it, can you? And you have to, obviously, I know there is a professional side of it where you have to deliver in time. And I'm not saying it take 10, 15 years to do it, but we live in a world where we're always under pressure. And I think that giving yourself time to stop and look at your work and reflect will help you get out of that kind of block that you mentioned.
I
I never worked with a block. I never ever set myself time to write every single day. I I really, really do flow with it. And my best work is flowing, is when I flow. So, I mean, I went to yoga this morning and I spent the whole of, I don't know what I did during yoga, but I spent the whole time world building in my head. You know, your work never leaves you as a creative. It's with you everywhere. So, isn't it?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I might be in triangle pose, and yet the next scene of world building is happening at the same time. I
Oh
mean,
my, so true. It's definitely true with me, honestly.
but what I hear you saying, at least from my perspective, is giving yourself grace and trusting in yourself that if you need something to go back and recognize, do I need some more time? Do I need to send up a flare of sorts and go, hey, I need to have a conversation, agent, editor, whomever. I need to talk this out, or this is what's going on. But to trust in yourself to do that and remember that it's okay. You should speak up for you, that you can
It's
leverage the
called
grace.
Yeah, it's confidence and courage, isn't it? And it's having that, which in a world where we feel under pressure by performing what is liked, what's not liked, it's this is the whole empowerment message, isn't it? The empowerment through creativity is owning the time to pause and say, hang on, I need to look at this. And I don't, as I said to you, I don't think if that would be a problem if you were with a big agent, with a big publisher either, because I think that they would respect that part of the creative process. And obviously, if you're an honourable person, then you would never take advantage of that.
And I think
So
the biggest thing is communication. What I'm hearing is a communication too. But again, going back to what you're saying about empowerment, remembering that you can do this. You can write your story. You can speak
believe,
up. Yeah.
yeah, it's having that belief. And in my case, remaining rooted in my faith, keeping my creativity nestled in its home. It's safe here. And with that, you've got all the ingredients to let the flower of writing bloom.
I
Haven't
love
you?
that. I love
Uh,
that. So
You've got, you've got water, you've got sun, you've got all those ingredients that something needs to flourish and bloom. I think, yeah. I mean, I'm learning. Chatting to you again. It's coming together. Everything that I'm feeling. Yeah, that's a good analogy, really, isn't it? It's all sort of
yes,
comes together. Yeah.
because
Oh,
I mean, if you think about it, where if you feel like you always need to be on the go, 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 and there's no space to pause, then you 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 just kind of lose sight of all the different pieces. But if you're in a pause, in a sense, like if there's one thing to have a pause, it's another thing to start to get stuck. So understanding the difference and recognizing, is this really a strategic pause, or is this a pause that might be longer, but it's still appropriate? Or am I stuck?
yeah.
And do I need to send up a flare and ask for help? But the
Absolutely. And that's self awareness, isn't it, as well? And that comes with then maturity in your craft. And at the very beginning, I fell, I fell to those ways. I let, I think when we last spoke, I think I mentioned that doubt was drowning me at one point and all of those external pressures. But I've never felt in such a better place in my creativity. And I know that that's because I've matured as well with it, with the craft, So, and I'm so pleased I've you know, stuck to my principles right from the beginning and let those develop. About, hang on, this is my baby, and I'm going to nurture it and own it, and I'm going to take my time. Yeah. So,
but I think that when you are taking your time, but you recognize, this is something that I can create, and I am working through this at the pace that I can go, you're also building your stamina, you're building your confidence in your writing, and because you're continuing to show up, you are being courageous, and that goes back to your point about empowerment writing, and it also helps you to recognize how far you've come. I mean, book 1 and book 2 are still, they're amazing pieces, but they're gonna and yes, they're different because they're different stories per se, but the sheer fact that you have a book 2, well, book 2 got the benefit of lessons and skill sets honed in book 1, and book 4 will have skill sets and benefits and lessons all honed from the previous 3. So whenever as the writings continue, or tangential writing that you do, the more you do, the more you keep showing up, you keep looking that fear or looking that uncertainty in the face and saying, I see you, but I can overcome this. And that's where that
Yeah.
empowerment that you are sharing about comes through is happening.
Yeah. And our craft is developing us as people as well.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Daniela, where can people connect with you? Where can they get
There's
stories?
and that's gone so quickly. My largest social platform is Instagram, although the Panther Tales is on Twitter and Facebook. I've got a website. My books are predominantly on Amazon. The website is www.thepanthertales.com. So, and I'm always willing to chat and help people on their journey. So, reach out.
I love that. Daniela, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jen.